ride on to the end.
I'd like to take a moment to officially announce the end of any hope of playoffs that we may have been clinging on to. I'd like to apologise for the late start. We said 10 o'clock, but unfortunately we had a bit of technical difficulties. Chris couldn't hear me. I'm Andrew Clark, and this is Chris Edge. And that was absolutely awful. And I'm quite the optimist, and I am. I'm a very optimistic person when it comes to Birmingham City. Some pods, you know, I might have been a little bit less than optimistic, but we played well for 13 minutes in the first half, 15 in the second half. Football's 90 minutes, not 28. We played well for less than a third of that game.
Yeah, and even when you look at them periods when we played well, what did we actually do, really? I mean, Doyle in the first 13 minutes was the only real shot on target of note. In the second half, okay, yes, we scored. It was a good goal and everything, but it's just another example of that one moment of something coming together. Well, we need way more than that. I said before, Dutch, Roberts, Stansfield, my eyes were on them. They did fuck all, like nothing. I mean, Roberts. Someone please tell me what he adds to this team, because he adds nothing to this team at the moment.
To be honest, I don't think Roberts is what we really could single out, because the same sort of pattern of dross. You know, aside Samuel, Stano, and Dutch actually did well for the goal, but for the rest of the 90 minutes, well, whatever time they were on till, they did nothing. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, but that's the point, isn't it? So you're keeping people on the pitch for 90 minutes for one moment, which is fine, but you need more than one moment in games. I mean, look at what Middlesbrough have done. They've hammered us on 3 mistakes basically tonight. They've hammered us on 3 mistakes. Like they weren't no better than us footballing wise. They really weren't. But they've scored on the 3 occasions that we haven't defended properly.
I just think we were just poor.
Bad.
Like,
yeah,
it was just another reaction podcast where there's very little positives. And I know that Beadle got booed, and to be fair, quite rightly, because he was just not at the races. And I know that you've not been his biggest fan. I think that's probably the understatement of the century. But after he got clattered by Panzo, he had a black eye. Quite, and I'm coming to this. He had a black eye. He was quite clearly concussed. But the medical team did a check, which they are supposed to do. But how he's got to half time and Davis hasn't gone, something not quite right here. Or he's that used to Beadle being that bad, he didn't think there was a problem. And it was, the crowd went to a shot. Obviously, we reacted because I watched it at home, obviously, because I'm evidently not at the ground. After he kicked the ball out of one point, the camera shot to a lady in the crowd, and she said, for every single Blues fan, get him effing off. I won't say exactly what she said, because you don't need to be a lip reader, because I could even read it in a Brummie accent. That's how, to a point it was. There's got to be... I want to hear what Davis's defence is for that. And one of the things that I picked up on a couple of the group chats is he's going to die on this
Gonna die
Beadle Hill.
Yeah.
On this Beadle Hill.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is we have an agreement with Brighton behind the scenes that we all don't know about. That means he has to play a certain amount of games. That's the only reason I can see this. The only reason he's in the team, because I'd say the first goal was Brighter Samuel. I know there was a hint of offside about it, but actually, when you look back at the replays, he was just on, played onside by Brighter Samuel, who was in no man's land, and Matt Targett turned into a primed Haaland and banged it in the back of the net, right? But it was a similar pattern. The difference between Millwall and Middlesbrough is Middlesbrough didn't bully us. Middlesbrough didn't even outplay us. We made so many mistakes and they just capitalised on it. You know, the Dutch goal gave us a bit of hope and we were in the ascendancy, and exactly the same thing happened. The first half, we're in the ascendancy. Matt Targett goes and scores. Heads drop. They score again. We score in the second half. We're on top. We're going at them. Strelec scores. Heads drop. How many times do we have to repeat this pattern before Davis goes, I'm going to lose my job here? I'm actually going to lose my job.
Well,
and I don't think the book stops with him. I think the players have gone from being these, we're going to get in the playoffs, to, you know, we are going to be in the mix for the playoffs, to, we lost to Millwall. What's the point? Right. Anyway, where's my flight to the Bahamas in the summer?
Yeah. Well,
realistically now, you're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, your anger that's coming out now, I'm not surprised, but I'm pretty sure that every single person leaving that ground tonight, because let's face it, half the people did leave with 10 minutes to go, and we haven't seen that in a long time. Mm-hmm. We have not seen that in ages. We have not seen us booed off. Everybody can see the certain things that are up for debate. The goalkeeper, yes, but we've talked about that. It's pointless just debating it because we have our opinions. The crowd have their opinions. Everybody can see it, right? The Stansfield debate, the Dutch debate. We're talking about players that are supposed to be our top players that offer nothing to us, over and over and over again. How many times do we have to have this conversation about the frailties of what happens when we concede a goal? But even like let's just take this back to the 13th minute. We were on top. We were playing okay. We hadn't created the whole deal, but we were the better team. They score. What happens? We completely collapse. Everything about what we were doing just stops. It's weakness.
We capitulate.
So what does the manager do about that? Right. Well, the answer is he does nothing, actually, because he might give them a bit of a pep talk at half time, and we did get back into the game with that goal. So that's when you start bringing players on like Priska and Vicente to really hammer it home to them. But instead, we bring on Paik and put Owasa to right back. I mean, what the hell is that? How is that any difference to anything?
I think it was really interesting when Stano came off. Like, because Stano was sat there.
Because he did nothing.
He did nothing, but his head, you know, usually when he comes off, he's geeing up the next player to come on. His head was down. He's devoid of any confidence. And what is Davis doing about that? They look a little bit like, and I'm not just picking on Stano, because Panzo was dreadful. I thought we just looked a little bit like the confidence from the Leeds game and games in and around. But let's look back at the West Brom game and how we felt after the West Brom game. you know, when I was sat in my car and I was being told I was really negative and it was only 0-0, and you know, we you know, that was the start of what I actually think is going to happen. We've had 2 pannings now. And yes, you could look at where Middlesbrough and Millwall are in the league. At no point did I think this evening that Middlesbrough were way better than us. We just allowed them to be. We just allowed them to be that team. As soon as that first goal went in, our heads dropped, and it, you know, I can only imagine. I can only apologise if my brother's not available to chat. As you can probably imagine, he's probably getting panned at the minute in Middlesbrough by his pals. But I feel like I give it a discredit because they, you know, well taken goal. You know, the third goal was a good goal. There was nothing, you know, very good goal from them, Strelec. But
no, hang on. No, the header was good, but what the hell's Panzo doing? What is he doing? Just watching the ball come over his head like that from that far out. Sorry.
It just feels like they're on the beach.
I said in the group chat, like, that over the last 2 games, we've kind of seen why Panzo has had one club every 12 months his whole career. Right.
Yeah.
He was not very good tonight, and the fact that he chose to bring on Laird with 7 minutes to go to take Panzo off. We're going to go back to what has been boiling up in me the last couple of weeks. Davies' favourite players, he would do anything to keep them in the team. I mean, what was the value of bringing Peck on at that point? What was the value of it, really? Think about it. There was no value.
I can't.
So if you wanted to change his right back, fine. He's got Laird on the bench. Bring Laird on. There was no reason to bring Peck on at that point in the game. It just beggars belief sometimes. Honestly, the substitutions and his decisions are bizarre. But then he'll go, oh, you know, we were in it for 15 minutes, we were in it for the fun, then we got back into it, and then we didn't quite have the moments, blah, blah, blah. It's the same bullshit all the time. And it won't be bullshit when it works, but it's not working. It hasn't worked too many times. There's a reason why we're 10th or 11th. Because you win one, you lose one. It doesn't work. It does work. It does work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. He has to hold accountability for this. Something is desperately wrong here. We've replaced half a squad with better players, and the same thing is happening all the time. I
don't want to get. I don't think Davis will be our manager at the end of the season. You know, there's people who say, no, you know, he won't get to the international break. I don't think that's the case. There's not many.
No, they won't get rid of him before the end of the season. But we talked about was he under pressure? And I said his basic job interview was between now and the end of the season, and if we're not going to end up close to the playoffs, so therefore this is a failure. It is a failure, in my opinion. That the whole thing, he's been given every tool possible.
I mean, I'd like to know what other people think, to be honest, because it's really easy to do a reaction video and go negative, and we're going to have someone who go, oh, come on, guys, it's only 2 defeats back. You know, we were the form team. It's not the defeats that, you know, if we'd have lost 1-0, it's the manner of the defeat.
Yeah, no, I've got some opinions right here, so let's put them on. Is it on? No?
We're not mentally strong in a serious term. We can't be a two. Yeah, absolutely, Colin. I couldn't agree more with that. We need to get that sort of mentality right. You know, like I was saying, we scored. When they scored, the heads dropped. We were the better team when they scored that. When Matt Targett scored that first goal, we were the better team. When Strelec scored the third, we were the better team. The mentality's just gone. We have a knack of turning good players into average players. Are we? Yeah, same. Are we overcoaching any individuality out of the team? I've seen this comment be made by a couple of people on various group chats that I'm in. I don't know if it's overcoaching, but the confidence just isn't there. Like, Vicente came on today and he did a couple of things, but when he first came in, he was doing flicks and tricks, and he looked exciting. Stano used to be direct goal scorer. Now he's trying to run himself into the ground. Yeah, I like Dave. I like Davis. I do. I've always said I like Davis. I think it's too much. I thought our fans were awful tonight, being like, yeah. I mean, yeah. Do you know what? I can't disagree that we got worse when Stano went off, but it was just we were just a bit flat, and Beadle, Davis out. We're going nowhere. This manager, yeah. I like I was just saying. I like Davis. I actually do. I thank him for the 111 points, the trip to Wembley, but his substitutions recently have been mystifying. Every man, the dog in the in the Gilmerick, every lady, everyone who went to the ground, everyone who was watching on TV, John obviously in Spain watching it, every single person who watched that game today was mystified that Beadle was kept on. There was no changes at half time. Yes, okay, we came out like house on fire. We were going at it. And yeah, some people, we did a podcast, just going back to that message there. We did a podcast, didn't we, about is Davis on borrowed time? And we both said, we'll probably get to the end of the season. But I'm just a bit mystified by his substitutions and tactics.
I mean, what you said there. I mean, yes, I will moan about, or we forever say that Beadle isn't what we need. However, on the flip side of it, I would never agree with taking a goalkeeper off because of his performance. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, right? But at the end of the day, if you picked him, you stay with him unless he's injured and everything else. But I mean, it goes beyond that. I mean, Beadle was not the reason why we lost that game tonight.
Like, no, he was a contributing factor, though.
He's a reason why the fans will get frustrated with the way that we're playing. But the fact that happened, that's when at half time something should have happened. Okay, yes, we come out and scored a goal in 3 minutes, fine. But there was nothing else. And then 5 minutes after that, it was clear that nothing else was going to happen out of what he had on the pitch. And he did nothing. He did nothing. He had Prisca sat there. He had Vicente sat there. And okay, yes, he brought them on. But he did that when it was 3-1. It's kind of like, come on, man. If you're what we're all to believe, that the game and exactly what's going on and you want this, then you've got to be better. You have to be better, and there's just so many failures in the areas of substitutions and not recognising what was. I mean, let's go back to Millwall, not recognising that Solis was one tackle away from a red card. I mean, come on. Everybody else could see it. Like, we could all see it. So what is wrong with you? Like, I mean, this whole Beadle Allsop thing as well. Is he the only person in the world that sits there and thinks Beadle is a better option for us as a goalkeeper at the moment? I know I go on about it, but it's a massive deal. Everybody's talking about it. I don't want to say not Donald Trump going, everybody's talking about it, but everybody is talking about it. The crowd left. The crowd booed on the basis that they don't want Beadle in goal. Everybody can see.
Yeah.
So what is going on? Right? You can't be that arrogant about this thing. I mean, what the hell?
I mean, I'd firstly just like to apologise if you heard some audio in the last few seconds. I do have the Sky Sports on in the background, and for some reason it's just clicked back in. But I'm also trying to wait for the press conference that's coming through. I hope he doesn't die on this hill.
I think it's too late, to be honest with you. I think there's been too many games now where everybody thinks the same thing.
Yeah. Stats on block shots seems to block a lot. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Do you know what? Actually, I did notice this. I was watching a couple of our shots, and they just seem to like bounce off defenders' legs, or they get in the way. Wrexham have done fantastic recruitment. They've brought in solid championship players and find themselves in sixth place. But also, I will say that I think Phil Parkinson is a better manager than Chris Davis. And there might be people out there who agree, disagree. That's fine, but that's just my opinion. I think that Phil Parkinson is a better manager. He's more experienced. He obviously knows all of the leagues, so he's been able to sort of work his way out of the leagues. He's also had time there, and he's developed players, you know, through the system that they have. And yes, okay, Wrexham have got plenty of money, and you know, were the big spenders until we went down into League One. But I just think that we've got to sit here now on the 2nd of March and go, we've just got next season now. Okay, yes, we'll have the end of the season. We'll have the World Cup, and then we go again.
Yeah, yes, we do. But we have to remember that with the transfer windows we have, if we don't go up this season, that there isn't money in the bank to be signing 12 players again next season. So this is it. This is the squad that we have.
Mm.
So they're either good enough, or they're not, or they are good enough and the manager hasn't got the ability to get the tune out of them to go and finish in first or second place next season. Oh, just on a sidebar, have you seen the new plans for the playoffs next season?
Yeah, so there's an extra spot, isn't there?
Two extra
spots. Okay.
So what is proposed that will happen is 7th and 8th will so 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th will play off, and then they will play 3rd and 4th.
So it's basically like a quarterfinal round robin sort of situation.
Basically.
Kind of like down in the Conference League. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, I mean, it's disappointing. We move on to Saturday. For the rest of the week, we do have a couple of podcasts coming up that'll be out with the preview show for the weekend. Please give us a like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Please give us a like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell for notifications. If we get to 500, there is a special video that will be added to a couple of our podcasts. At the start of the podcast, there'll be a couple of clues. Let us know in the comments who you think it might be. Until next time, I'm Andrew Clark, from Chris Edge. Keep right on, and I'll see you soon.
Keep right on to the end.